we've got one participant so far. And Sylvia, if you are the only participant so far, you're going to get heaps of value by the end, because there's a little gift at the end, which I'll tell you about in a sec. The real secret to high-performing teams is what we're going to talk about today, everyone. This topic is near and dear to my heart. I've got to tell you why. Before I do that, though, let me ask you if there's any expectations. And let's presume at the moment, with not so many people on just yet, which I'm sure they will, that there will be some expectations. I've got to tell you, after 16, coming up to 17 years of doing this work with teams, with leaders, with businesses, I think we've calculated that we've worked with 150 plus organizations around the world. I've done at least 3,000 presentations, and now over the last 12 months, this week with COVID, this week is 12 months since the pandemic hit Australia. A lot of those presentations have been on video or on webinar. And after 16 to 17 years, finally, the penny's dropped. And that's why I wanted to put this high-performing teams webinar out there and share with the world what I've learned. And there's this like 3-step playbook. It's so simple around high-performing team. So for leaders out there, if you're looking to create a high-performing team, and guess what our work today is? Our work today is in another office. Our business manager, Alison, who would usually be on here helping me coordinate any of the comments that we might get. Alison's in running a International Women's Month, which is what we're in now, Women in Leadership program. So we've put out to the world, and this first one was a free event to see if there are women out there that want to come and be in a room with other women and actually talk about their challenges and their opportunities and what's great about being a woman and what sort of struggles they might face. And Alison's facilitating that amazingly well. And so I've just stepped out to do this webinar. And, you know, to actually work with organizations everywhere, women everywhere, males everywhere, leaders everywhere, to now understand what it takes and to be able to speak confidently and give you a playbook about high-performing teams, unbelievable. And I can't wait to share that with you. And we're going to be short and sharp today. So we put out for 20 minutes on the program. It may go for a little bit longer. It looks like there's not too many people on yet, so I might not get too many questions. We are going to record this, though, to put it out there. Let's do it. Let's jump straight into it. I've been married for 25 years and I love the sport of triathlon. We had the Mooloolaba try, just a little bit about myself so that you get to know that there's a human behind this screen, and that and if I'm not working, sleeping, or being with my amazing wife and kids, I'm out training for triathlon. And about us, Sylvia, there's only Sylvia on at the moment. Got a gift for you. At the end. Which you're going to love, literally valued at $220, which you're going to love. So hold that thought. So team, here is what I'm going to share with you about high-performing teams. This is very simply, you know, and we can overcomplicate things. And I think it's easy to get complex, and it's easy to use cliches around high-performing teams. And when you've been doing this for 16 years, I've heard all of the cliches. I know about visions, I know about mission, and I know about values. And the first time I heard about that was in my business, and I got a HR degree in human resources, which I thought was going to set me up for life because it'd teach me about people. And it didn't help me write job descriptions, which is interesting. So I'm now doing psychology to really understand people. And so we overcomplicate some stuff when it comes to leadership and teams. Let me break teams down into they're two very, very basic components. One is what you do. One of the outputs of your team, what your team does. The other is how you do it. So how your team performs. And so when we talk about the what and the how, we're very specifically breaking up the two elements of your team into measurable, tangible, or intangible, the relationship stuff. Let's go back to the measurable first. So when we talk about what your team does, we talk about the stuff, the outputs, the KPIs, the compliance, the deliverables, how many meetings you've done, or sales meetings, how many interactions you've done with out in the field, how many sales calls you've been on. Like, tick the box, and we've got the charts behind us, and we're trending up or we're trending down, and there's well, how come we didn't get this much turnover this month? How come we didn't meet our budget? They're all very what questions. They're all very doing questions. They're all very output-based questions. And what's really interesting about output-based questions is that most people rate them highly on them. So we do a lot of surveying. We do engagement survey. We do safety culture survey. We do culture surveys in organisation. When I ask the question, what are your outputs like? Most people say, hey, we're really high. We do a really, really good job of achieving what we have to do. I say, okay, cool. So how's your team? So tell me about what's going on in your team. How do you do that? And how do your team work together? What are the things that are going on in your team that are intangible, that are difficult to measure, that are people-based? Now, the relationships are really around behaviors, around communication. And I'm going to give you 2 words. And this is deliberate because nothing happens by mistake when we're doing this. And so this isn't a mistake. I'm going to talk now about harm factor. What I mean by harm factor is basically the opposite to care factor, obviously. And it's easy to talk about harm factor because we remember that. We remember the times when we've been hurt, when someone's violated our trust of them, when people have overstepped the mark, when people have not been nice, have not been inclusive, have been degrading. So we know that. We know what that feels like, and it's a horrible thing. And I can tell you, after all of these years doing this work and working with so many teams, I can tell you the things that cause harm factor. The biggest one is gossip. The biggest one is people not having a conversation with each other and talking to someone else about it. And gossip creates subcommittees. So you've got your team, and then all of a sudden you've got this subcommittee who are working to white hand someone in the team. These are horrible, horrible, horrible behaviors that lead to poor relationships because they erode trust. They erode communication. They erode debate. Now, the thing about harm factor is that it's preventable. Very, very, repeat after me, very preventable. If you're willing to call it out as a peer, as a team member, or as a leader. So I'm talking to everyone today. I'm not just talking to leaders of high-performing teams. I'm talking to people in high-performing teams, or the people that want to be in high-performing teams, because we've all got a role to play. We've got to take on what is our 50%. No one's immune to their role in a high-performing team. And no one's immune to helping other people reduce harm factor and reducing the harm factor that we cause to others. And sometimes we do, which is really interesting to note, because some people forget that. Some people forget that the way we come across might hurt others. Now, from a leadership perspective, team, don't thank me now. Seriously. This is your playbook. Here's your playbook for building a high-performing team. Here's the 3 steps, seriously, that I've seen work time and time again. And I don't know why it's taken so long for it to sink for me personally, and for me to actually go, you know what, building a high-performing team, there's only these 3 things. A team charter. Have you got a team charter? And I hope you have. And I'm here to tell you that in my mind, you won't build a high-performing team without a team charter. Yes, you're going to have organisational missions and values and goals and stuff, and some of that for your team will go onto your team charter. Now, if you're a leader, even if you're a peer, someone in the team, a team member, go to your leader and say, hey, let's do a team charter, and get it facilitated externally. Don't try to build it internally, because once you're in the day, once you're in the charter, it's very, very hard to sort of look unbiasedly at your team and the future. This is what high-performing teams do. They look to the future. And it's really, really hard to do that when you're in the game. and when you're up there trying to facilitate this, because you want to participate in this and you've got so much vested interest in it. So get someone to facilitate this workshop for you. And at the end of the day, have a team charter. Then once you've got a team charter, sign off on your team charter. Actually put your name on it, put your signature on it. Now, we've just had someone else join. Thank you so much, Jesse. Great to have you on. Jesse, feel free to throw anything in the chat box, Jesse, and hang to the end of this session if you would like to get a free gift valued at $220, which is around communication styles, which you're going to love. So please feel free to jump in as you need to. Team charter. I cannot express with more passion just how important these documents are when they go up on the wall. Now, why are they so important? Anna? Great question. If you do a team charter, what is a team charter first? A team charter is something that has got your outputs on it if you want it to. So you don't need outputs on it. There might be some goals on it. The thing about outputs is you measure them anyway. You're going to have your daily report, your monthly report. What we don't measure is behavior. That's why we need a team charter, because behavior is hard to measure. No one ever, maybe you do at your team meetings, no one says, hey, how are we all feeling this week? What's the measure of how we're feeling in relation to how we're dealing with each other? How are we showing up? What's our emotional state? What's our psychological safety? Imagine measuring that every week on a chart. What's the psychological safety in our team? Is it going up or down? Team charters, powerful, powerful tools. Now, as part of the team charter, I'm going to encourage your leaders. If you're a leader out there, if you're in a leadership position and you're creating, you're building, you're developing a high-performing team, please systematize your leadership. Step number 2, systems leadership. What do I mean by systems leadership? Now, this should fall out of your team charter day, process development. Systematized leadership is this. It is where a leader commits to wiping their calendar. Believe it or not, now this is serious. This is a big, I know you've got too many meetings. I can hear it already. Thank you. To wipe my calendar, start from scratch if you're a leader. And I know you've got your leaders to report to. I know you've got clients to talk to. I get all of that stuff. They're not your most important priority if you want to build a high-performing team. Seriously. I know you think that our clients are our most important priority, and sometimes we get wrapped up in that. I always come back to the Richard Branson quote: train staff so they can leave, treat them so they'll stay. Train staff so they can leave, treat them so they'll stay. Be there for your team. You will not, as a leader, create a high-performing team unless you're spending quality one-on-one time with every team member, and it's systematized. So it's in a schedule. So every Wednesday at 2 p.m. or every second Wednesday at 3 p.m. I'm talking to Jill. And the next month I'm talking to Jay. And then I'm talking to Jimmy. System. I'm going to do one sales call a month with one of my salespeople. I'm going to go out and do safety interactions in the field with people. I am going to do a monthly town hall with my team, and then do one-on-ones after it. Whatever the case is, team, systematize your leadership. Systems leadership is symbolic. See, what leaders don't realize is they don't realize the symbolism of what they do. Now, if you schedule time with your team members, which is crucial, and I've had leaders tell me as recently as this week, hey, Anton, it's really, really hard because some of my team members don't want one-on-one time with me. And that's cool. That's a challenge for you because they just don't know how to articulate that. And there's fear. Remember, fear drives behavior. What are you doing as a leader to make it comfortable to do one-on-one time? We can only control our 50%. Now, the third one is no harm. The harm factor, let's get rid of harm factor. When I say harm factor, and I would call this out on your charter day, I would say, and we do this with leaders, we say no harm in this team. Everyone can agree, no harm. What's harm look like? Aggressive behavior, abrupt behavior, or abusive behavior. As soon as any of those show up in your team, you're creating harm. Now, the charter gives you the opportunity. It's a commitment document. It's a thing on the wall that says, hey, we're committed to this and we're going to hold each other accountable. If you put on your charter, and I've seen these on charters, No aggression, no abuse, no abruptness. That's doing no harm. It's forcing people to be respectful humans and caring humans. Now, that's step 1, 2, and 3. And these, seriously, after 16 years in this work, are absolutely the easiest three things you can do to build a high-performing team. Now, let's have a look at the Tuckman model, who came up with forming, storming, and norming. And he talked about the curve of, once we form a team, and then we norm, and then we storm. And, it's a sort of, we go down before we go up, which is cool. Here's a challenge. And I'm going to sort of challenge your thinking, everything that you've heard, even from Simon Sinek online recently. He's got a great video, Hire on Attitude. I'm going to say that hiring for a high-performing team starts before you open the team, before you create the team. Now, if your team's been around for a while and you want to turn it into a high-performing team, what I want you to think about is the grey bit there before forming, in between reforming and forming, so that you can consider who you bring into your team. Now, here's a challenge for you. Don't hire on skill. Don't hire on attitude. Seriously, don't hire on attitude. Don't hire on likability. Doesn't matter whether someone's likable. This is what matters, whether they're a good fit for your team. Now, I was at an International Women's Day session the other day, and I've got a post-it note here very, very symbolically and specifically, because I heard a lady speak, one of Australia's inclusion experts, Julie Mackay. If you ever get a chance to hear her speak, she is phenomenal. I learned so much. She says she's got a post-it note on her laptop, not on the camera bit, that says, hire the other candidate. Hire the other candidate. Too often we hire people like us. We hire on attitude. Oh, they're happy. They've got a good attitude, or they're great at their job. This is a great salesperson. This is a great engineer. This is a great accountant. This is a great whatever. Look at your team, and yes, there's got to be a certain amount of skill set. Yes, there's got to be a certain amount of attitude. They're not the priority. Seriously, look at your team and say, what's the right fit for this team? Do you need more diversity? And if you do, great. Hire someone that brings a different perspective. Hire someone that's going to challenge you, not just say yes all the time. We hire people like us because we like them and they like us. They might not be a good fit for the team. The team mightn't like them. Here's a thought for you. Do team interviews with new starters. Get the team to come do the interview, not you. There's a bit of progressive thinking. What? Anton, how could you say that? That's the leader's job. I'm the leader. That's my job. You've got to lead these people. Your team members have got to work with them. Just imagine that. Imagine if you asked your team members to do job interviews with new starters. Would they pick the same person that you would, or would they choose the other candidate as a thought? Now, one of the ways that you can find out a little bit more about people before they start is actually hire on DISC. And what we mean by that is that do a DISC survey. So find out, because you might say, well, look, I've seen their resume and they look like they're going to be good and I've spoken to them. This person looks like a good fit. How do I really know? So communication styles and DISC profiling is a really, 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 did I say really? Really good way to understand someone before they even start. So DISC profiling is such a powerful tool. We've done a DISC profile today, seriously, for the 12 women we've got a women in leadership program today in the next room. And all of those women are getting huge, huge value from their DISC profile, because DISC profiling just allows you to understand yourself so much more, and it allows you to it helps you to understand other humans as well and how to communicate with them. And I encourage you, if you want to build a high performing team, or want to keep building a high performing team, do DISC profiles for everyone in your team. It'll help you. You don't thank me now, and you'll get how important it is once you've done it. Now, we've got some people on this webinar now. Here's my little offer to you. Who is still Sylvia? Guess what? Would you like a free DISC profile valued at $220. So I'm just going to put your SOLY, Sylvia. If you would like that, Sylvia, please respond now in the next couple of minutes. We've had some quality time together today. Thank you for staying. Please respond in the next 1 or 2 minutes just to let me know that you're going to take us up on that offer, and I will get Alison to connect with you and get you a free disc profile. And of course, for anyone out there, we're here to help. I hope you got some on my disc profile. Yes, please address. Thanks, Sylvia. Love your work. Great job. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So I'm going to copy that. Sylvia, so Alison will be in touch, and she will organise that with you. Now, Takesways. I wonder what a Takesways, full name Sylvia Parmes. Thank you. Great stuff. You're going to get so much value from this, Sylvia. I can't wait to share this profile with you. And because you've stayed as an added bonus, Alison doesn't know this yet, and she won't mind because she's so good at this. She might even have a quick chat with you about your disc and just unpack it with you, because that's the power in disc, is when you can unpack it with someone else. Thank you so much, and thank you, Sylvia. Look, if you would like, and maybe this is, I was going to offer people that were on a free 15-minute diagnostic chat just to see where you are with your team and how high-performing you already are. Sylvia, we'll do that with Alison after your free disc profile if you'd like to, or you can have a chat with me. Just reach out, and I'll put my email address here too. Just bear in mind the differences. I'm sure ours behind perfect. Yeah, no, cool, Sylvia. Alison will be all over that for you. She'll make sure your calendar and mine lines up, or your calendar and her lines up. Thanks, and thank you for letting me know that. Thanks, Sylvia, and thank you for anyone else that watches this or watches the replay. It's just such a great topic, such great opportunities to build high-performing teams, and I'm going to end it there. Thanks heaps, Sylvia, and there was some other people on. Thanks again. Speak soon. Bye-bye.